Joining us now, a member of the Biden Campaign Advisory Board, Democratic California Congressman Robert Garcia. Good to see you again, Congressman. Do you believe at least that part of the Hur report, and I'm going to read those 8 words that present the president as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, do you believe that that is politically motivated, as we just heard from the vice president?
I mean, absolutely. Of course it is. I mean, it's really unfortunate that
so what's his axe to grind? Why? What's the motivation?
I mean, look, I think let's. I mean, here's the bottom line. I think the bottom line is important. This was a 15-month investigation. The president sat many hours over 2 days, answered every question, gave over every piece of information that they asked for. And what was the bottom line conclusion? There was nothing to charge the president with. There was no evidence. There was no charges that have been filed. The president did absolutely nothing wrong that he could be charged with, and he completely cooperated. Now, let's, of course, contrast that with Donald Trump, who would not cooperate with anyone, who hid documents, who essentially ran away from the Department of Justice, who would not cooperate with any sort of process. And here we are. He's actually being charged with serious crimes on his mishandling of classified information. The same cannot be said for President Biden. So President Biden did the absolute right thing here. He's been cleared, no charges filed, and it's time to get back to work for the American people.
And the president did move quickly last night. We talked about the fact it is rare for him to hold an evening news conference, but particularly one that comes together in a very short period of time. They were able to get the press together. I want to play just a little bit of what President Biden said last night.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation.
However, and I just want to give this asterisk, which Monica just mentioned. The polls show that the American people believe that he is perhaps too old, that they are concerned about his physical health. In our most recent NBC News poll, that was 3/4 of Americans were concerned about his mental and physical health, including half of Democrats. So is part of the problem here, it affirms for a majority of Americans what they already believe. And what do you do with that as a member of the president's campaign?
Well, first, I want to be absolutely clear. I'm around the president often. The president is focused. He's detail-oriented. He's always thinking about the big picture. He's funny. He understands. Look, he makes jokes sometimes about his age, but what you have is someone with immense wisdom, probably the most experienced person ever to serve as president of the United States, with his incredible experience. We should be so fortunate to have someone like Joe Biden and his wisdom in the White House. Now, look, oftentimes folks, of course, in the press and certainly on the far right, MAGA right, want to focus to attack him in any way possible. And there is no question that this special counsel, a Republican appointee who could not find one shred of evidence to charge him, wants to score political points. That's fine. They want to reelect Donald Trump. They want to do whatever they can to stop President Biden from delivering for the American people. But we also know his agenda. I mean, let's look at what he's done. Lowering the price of insulin, passing infrastructure, doing great work around gun violence, ensuring that we're actually taking on climate change. So the success is there.
So I'm glad you pointed that out, because one of the questions I hear often for Democrats is their frustration that they feel that message you just gave about what he has accomplished isn't resonating. You also pointed out correctly on the former Twitter, X, that former President Trump has confused leaders recently. Nikki Haley made a whole ad about the fact that he confused her and Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Just last night, he was confused about when the Nevada primary was held. But polls, again, show voters have a lot more concerns about Biden's slip-ups. So you've been around the block for a while in politics. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it resonates more where President Biden is concerned than it does for Donald Trump?
Well, because the far-right MAGA machine is obsessed with taking out President Biden and reelecting Donald Trump. I mean, what was it just last week that Mike Johnson, our youthful speaker, confused Iran and Israel? I mean, this is Someone was asking me yesterday if I remembered the year I graduated from grad school, and I had to think about it for a while. I mean, we're not going to remember every single detail. This is a lot to do about nothing. The president is incredibly sharp. I am so grateful. He is in charge of our country. We need to be focused on ensuring that he gets reelected. He is going to get reelected. And let's be very clear what the opponent is, who is a 91 count indicted criminal who decides to not work with the Department of Justice and clearly broke numerous laws. And so the focus is here because this is where the MAGA right wants it to be. They're out there spreading lies, politically motivated hit jobs. But that's why it's up to us, folks like me and others, who are going to be across the country, who know the president, telling the truth and defending the record.